A 43-year-old woman is behind bars on multiple charges for slashing her boyfriend's throat and hands after he refused to give her his medication. At 1:04 a.m. on Saturday the 5th of October, authorities responded to an apartment in the 2200 block of Broad Avenue in Altoona, Pennsylvania, on reports of a domestic incident involving a knife. When officers arrived at the residence, they found a knife on the front steps. Upon entry, they found a male victim with a cut across his throat and hands and blood throughout the home. Through investigation, it was determined that the male victim awoke to his girlfriend Rebekah Edwards, standing over his bed with a large kitchen knife positioned against his throat, threatening his life and demanding his Klonopin pills. Rebekah then sliced at his throat, but the victim managed to disarm her before she retrieved a second knife. Rebekah began slashing at the male victim, causing wounds to his hands as he attempted to thwart the attack. The male victim again was able to disarm Rebekah before police arrived. Rebekah and her boyfriend had been living together for about 8 years. Court documents indicate that Rebekah held a knife to her boyfriend's throat and said, "I'm going to kill you. You don't think I'm going to do it." Rebekah told police that her boyfriend previously gave her some of his Klonopin, a medicine typically prescribed for anxiety, sleeplessness and alcohol withdrawal. Rebekah was arrested and charged with criminal attempted homicide, aggravated assault, possession of instruments of a crime, terroristic threats, reckless endangerment and simple assault. She remains held at the Blair County Jail on a $100,000 cash bond. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for the 16th of October. 18-year-old Wyatt Testerman is behind bars for fatally beating his 74-year-old grandmother Cheri Oliver during a domestic dispute. At 2:01 p.m. on Tuesday the 8th of October, authorities responded to a residence in the 100 block of Ridgewood Drive in Orlando, Kentucky on reports of an active assault. When officers arrived, they found Wyatt outside the home and he was immediately detained without incident. When officers entered the premises, they immediately located Cheri on the floor with significant head trauma. Medics treated her at the scene and rushed her to University Hospital in Cincinnati, where she was pronounced dead. During the investigation, it was determined that Wyatt and Cheri got into an argument when he repeatedly struck her in the head with his fist and a metal drinking tumbler. It's unclear what the argument was about. Authorities said he admitted to the assault. Wyatt was booked into the Kenton County Detention Center on murder and domestic violence charges. On the morning of Wednesday the 9th of October, Wyatt made his first court appearance via video conference where the judge set his bond at $500,000. He's set to return to court on the 15th of October. 24-year-old Cecilio Flores and 21-year-old Kayla Escobeda have been arrested after extremely severe injuries were found on their 2-month-old daughter. In late September, police were called to Covenant Women and Children's Hospital emergency room in Lubbock, Texas for possible child abuse. When police arrived, medical staff told officers the baby had a lacerated liver, brain bleed, a compressed bowel, a lacerated lung, a broken wrist, a broken leg, a lacerated spleen, brain bleed, multiple skull fractures, and multiple rib fractures. Authorities said that the rib fractures involved nearly every rib, and some of them were healing. When interviewed on the 26th of September, Kayla told detectives that there was no trauma she knew about. Kayla's mother and other family members noticed bruises on the baby and urged her to take her daughter to the hospital 2 weeks before the call-out. Kayla told detectives that she listened to her family, however she lied, and later confessed that she did not take her daughter to the hospital. Kayla said she only brought her daughter to the doctor for a 2-month checkup. There she told the staff her baby was breathing in an odd manner, and that's when scans revealed those injuries. When Cecilio spoke with detectives, he said he knew the baby had multiple bruises on her body and that she'd fallen off the bed more than once. Cecilio, like Kayla, said he didn't know of any traumatic event that could have caused the injuries. After detectives pushed for further answers, Cecilio quit speaking and ended the interview. The following day, on the 27th of September, Kayla spoke to detectives again. She said that she admitted to seeing Cecilio assault the baby on multiple occasions. She said the abuse began over the past month when she returned to work. She said Cecilio slapped the baby's legs when he got frustrated changing the child's diaper, and he forcefully pressed down on the baby's midsection with his hands. She also said that she had seen Cecilio place the boy on the bed between him and the wall, and forcefully pushed the child against the wall on multiple occasions, causing the right side of the baby's head and body to strike the wall. When asked on a scale of 1 to 10 how hard he pushed on the baby, she told detectives a 10. She admitted that she did not take her daughter to hospital because she was scared of Cecilio. She also admitted to not taking her because she was afraid of an investigation and that she would possibly lose her baby. On Friday the 4th of October, Cecilio and Kayla were arrested and booked into the Lubbock County Jail. Cecilio is charged with aggravated assault with a weapon to a family member with serious bodily injury. Kayla is charged with injury to a child with intent with serious bodily injuries. They each remain held on a $200,000 bond. A 64-year-old woman is accused of setting fire to a bush outside a church. The incident occurred at around 11:25 p.m. on Tuesday the 8th of October at the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints on West Eringhouse Street in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Officers said that a witness saw the woman, Carrietta Spence, setting a bush on fire near the church and running away. She was caught by police a few blocks away and was arrested. Carrietta was charged with injury to real property and burning of churches and certain other religious buildings. She was booked into the Albemarle District Jail on a $10,000 secure bond. Authorities have not released any information about a possible motive. A 39-year-old man has been arrested following a road rage incident where he pointed a handgun at other motorists. The incident occurred at 2:09 p.m. on Tuesday the 8th of October at the Key Largo Campground and Marina in Monroe County, Florida. Authorities said that Christopher Edward Domes of Davie, Florida, followed two victims into the campground at a high rate of speed and drove recklessly before brandishing a loaded 9mm handgun and threatening to kill them. No shots were fired and no injuries were reported. Christopher was arrested and booked into the Monroe County Jail on charges of aggravated assault and improper exhibition of a firearm. A 20-year-old man is behind bars for killing his cousin and another woman during an altercation. At 5:27 a.m. on Wednesday the 2nd of October, authorities responded to a report of two women found deceased at a home in Hooper Bay, Alaska. The victims were later identified as Novely Rivers and Abigail Olson, both 18 years of age. An autopsy revealed that Novely and Abigail had more than 60 slash and stab wounds, as well as signs of blunt force trauma to their bodies. During the investigation, authorities identified Shaquille Carawan as a suspect. Investigators said that Shaquille and Novely were cousins, and that an argument escalated into a physical altercation. Phone records obtained through search warrant shows text messages between Novely and an unknown number, which was later linked to Shaquille. In the messages, Novely and Shaquille discussed him coming over to her house with marijuana. Shaquille also told her he made homebrewed alcohol that he'll bring with him. The last message he sent was telling Novely he was at her home. On Saturday the 5th of October, detectives searched Shaquille's residence and found blood-stained shoes that matched the tread marks discovered at the crime scene. They also found a bag of bloody clothes and a blue knife hidden between the fridge and a wall with a broken tip that matched the piece found at Novely's home. During an interview with detectives, Shaquille initially denied being at Novely's home or being connected to the deaths, but later confessed to killing both victims with the knife. Shaquille said he threw Abigail and Novely's phones in the lake as he ran home after stabbing them. Investigators said they recovered the phones from the water. Shaquille was arrested and charged on counts of first and second-degree murder, tampering with physical evidence, misconduct involving a controlled substance, and furnishing alcohol to minors in a dry community. He remains held at the Yukon Kuskokwim Correctional Center with bail set at $1,500,000. A former detention center administrative assistant in Lauderdale County, Alabama, has been arrested for theft of funds. In November of 2023, the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office was alerted to money missing from an account of inmates' funds held by the Turnkey Correction Banking System for Lauderdale County Detention Center inmates. During the investigation, Chantelle Brown was identified as a suspect for misappropriating the funds. The investigation was then turned over to the Alabama State Bureau of Investigations. On Friday the 4th of October 2024, Chantelle was arrested and charged with 60 counts of computer tampering and theft of property. She was booked into the Lauderdale County Detention Center, but has since been released on a $180,000 bond. A 27-year-old man will spend the rest of his life behind bars for killing his infant daughter several years ago. On Thursday the 3rd of October 2024, Lewis Luna was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole after he was convicted of capital murder for raping, beating and suffocating his 8-month-old daughter Savayah Mason. On the 24th of August 2020, Harris County Sheriff's Office deputies and first responders went to Lewis's apartment in Houston, Texas on reports of an infant girl not breathing. Emergency medical personnel attempted to revive the baby, and she was transported to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead. An autopsy later determined that Savayah died of suffocation. She had hand marks on her neck as well as ligature marks that showed that she had been bound. Investigators also found evidence that Lewis had beaten and sexually assaulted his daughter. Authorities said that Lewis and the child's mother were separated at the time, and that the mother dropped Savayah off with Lewis on the day of her death. Officers discovered bloody baby wipes inside Lewis's apartment. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg said, "This baby couldn't walk or talk and she should have been with someone who kept her safe, but instead he abused that trust." Assistant District Attorney Edward Applebaum called the case one of the most horrific acts of violence imaginable. It's the worst kind of evil in the world. A 42-year-old man is behind bars for killing his wife with a hammer, placing her remains in a vehicle and driving it into a river. At 9:06 p.m. on Thursday the 3rd of October, Daniel Keith Flaherty contacted the Gibson County Sheriff's Office in Indiana to report his wife, 36-year-old Kayla Flaherty, missing. Daniel told deputies that his wife was on her way to her mother's house but never made it. However, investigators reviewed cell phone records, indicating that she did not drive toward her mother's residence. While questioned, Daniel eventually admitted to detectives to fatally hitting Kayla several times with a hammer in their living room, before putting her body in an SUV. Daniel then drove the SUV to Knox County, set it on fire and drove it into the Wabash River. Authorities said that Daniel and his wife were in the middle of a divorce at the time of her death. Authorities said that Daniel informed deputies where he dumped the SUV, and officials found Kayla's body inside the vehicle in the river. On the night of Friday the 4th of October, Daniel was arrested and charged with murder. He remains held at the Gibson County Jail without bond. 33-year-old Elizabeth Davis is behind bars after police say she was hired to dog sit and ended up using the victim's credit card to send money to her husband who's in jail. On the 25th of August, the victim filed a police report stating that he hired a woman to dog sit 3 of his dogs while he was gone on a cruise from the 18th to the 25th of August. The victim stated that he gave the woman a key to his home and that she could only access the location through the back door leading to the den. He said everything the dogs needed was in that area and that she did not have permission to go through the rest of his home. While the victim was on a cruise, 2 of his credit cards were stolen from his home and used on the 21st of August for various transactions without his permission. The total spent was $396.32. Investigators said that the suspect was a woman identified as Elizabeth Davis. After reviewing transactions made on his credit cards, it was shown that the cards were used at MAPCO and CorrectPay. According to records from CorrectPay, officers say the charge was deposited into David Maloney's commissary. Police said that David is a jail inmate and Elizabeth's husband. Video footage also showed Elizabeth using the credit card at MAPCO. When the victim returned home, he said his safe was open and his house had been rummaged through. Police say the total value of property stolen from his home was worth $11,253. The victim was able to identify Elizabeth in the 6-person photo lineup as the person who was in his home when his property was stolen. On the 8th of October, Elizabeth was arrested and charged with identity theft, fraudulent use and illegal possession of her credit cards and theft of property. She remains held at the Shelby County Jail on a $12,500 bond. An officer has been arrested after he is found with a meth pipe in his patrol car. The Belzoni, Mississippi officer, identified as James Jackson, was arrested by Yazoo City Police on Saturday the 5th of October. Officers reportedly found James passed out in the patrol car with a meth pipe in his hand. Marijuana was also found in the glove box. After refusing a sobriety test, James was charged with possession of drug paraphernalia and DUI refusal. James has since been released on bond, and further charges are possible. Belzoni is about 27 miles north of Yazoo City. It's unclear if James was on duty at the time of the incident. A teen is accused of fatally stabbing a man. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office in Michigan said that 17-year-old Ahmed Al-Alikhan targeted 64-year-old Howard Brisendine, who he met on an online dating app, because he is a member of the LGBTQ+ community. Officials said that on the 24th of September, Ahmed stabbed Howard to death at the victim's home at 6031 Minnick Street in Detroit, Michigan. Ahmed then took Howard's car keys and drove away from the scene. At around 4 p.m. on the 29th of September, authorities discovered Howard deceased in the living room of his home with multiple stab wounds. On the 1st of October, Ahmed was arrested by the Dearborn police and was turned over to Detroit police. Ahmed's charged with first-degree murder, felony murder, and unlawful driving away in an automobile. Prosecutors are also investigating the case as a hate crime. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy said Ahmed will be tried as an adult due to the heinous nature of the crime and is mere weeks away from turning 18.